that Hoosier spirit, kind of fill in. That if we can help them, there may come a time in the years ahead. I know we had challenges with the flooding last year, where they came in and helped us. And I think if we all realize we're in this together, I think we'll get through this intact and in one piece. But I think we are. I know unemployment is a lagging indicator. So even if we got out of this recession tomorrow, unemployment will likely climb for another 6 months. So even if it magically started improving today, tomorrow, it would be the end of the year before we would see unemployment peak, and then gradually, I think, go down. And so that's going to put a stress on a lot of government services. It's going to put a stress on unemployment. It's going to put a stress on Department of Child Services. And so all the supports of government are going to be stressed in ways that it's been decades since then. Another little historical tidbit, again, as a history major, about every 80 years or so, the United States has found itself in a period of serious challenge, dating back to the founding of our republic in 1776. It can be political, it can be military, it can be economic, and usually is a combination of those three. If you go back to 1776, you've got the American Revolution, obviously a huge period of time of turmoil in Indiana, well, actually Northwest Territories history and the 13 colonies history, eventually the United States. Go forward 7 years, 1860. It's the American Civil War, another period, tremendous upheaval. Go forward another 70, 80 years, and you've got the Great Depression, World War II. Go forward another 70 or 80 years, and here we are. And so this is a period of tremendous transition. We got through the first three. I think we'll get through this one. But there is no guarantee if you ask George Washington at Valley Forge or Abraham Lincoln before the Battle of Gettysburg or Franklin Roosevelt in the days after Pearl Harbor or in the depths of the Great Depression that America was going to emerge as a prosperous nation. No guarantee on that. It was we the people who made that happen. And we the people will get through it this time. But we're going to be in for a period of time, I think, for the next few years that are going to sorely test our resolve. And so, stay tuned. Dick, you had a question?
Comment and then a question. Spatial session coming up.
Yes.
I don't even like to think about it because it reminds me that the legislative body did not do the job that they were supposed to be doing.
Costs $100,000 a week, by the way.
And I wish there were some ruling that said you could not pass any bill until the budget had been passed, and then you could get to the other stuff. But in this spatial section, tell us about some of the things that will come up that you think will come up that should not be coming up.
Well, I think that both sides, realizing how tenuous things are, will probably not do a lot to provoke the other side. The Black Caucus, I hope anyway, the Black Caucus, which is generally led by the Lake County Democrats, the House Black Caucus, wanted to move a casino from Lake Michigan to downtown Gary because they wanted to pay for a hospital. Well, paying for a hospital is a good thing. But if you move a casino to Gary, why can't you move a casino to downtown Indianapolis or downtown Fort Wayne or downtown Greenwood for that matter? Why could you not do that? And I think it's very bad policy. First of all, as many of you know, I'm not a huge proponent of the expansion of gambling at all. But that's one of the issues that really derailed the budget on the Democratic House side because they were withholding their votes before that happened, and they thought the Senate Republicans would blink and just grant them that. Well, we did not blink and grant them that. That was not in the version of the budget that passed the Senate, and it failed in the House, I believe, as a result of that. So that's going to be, I think, one area that's going to be snuck in, or at least they're going to try to. Knowing that this is a nuclear white-hot issue, I think for many of us on the Senate Republican side, they may be able to convince the Black Caucus not to do it. We'll see. I see that as a potential issue. The CIB, as we were talking about a little bit earlier, is going to be another issue that's not directly related, but I think it's tangentially related. That will be included in the budget, and I think Speaker Bauer and Pro Tem Long both realize the importance of having a vibrant, healthy Indianapolis. I remember when my dad, he worked downtown at a bank off of Virginia Avenue. And I remember when I was maybe 8 or 9 years old going with my mom to have lunch with him sometimes. And it was really a special thing for me to do. And we'd sometimes stay until after rush hour traffic left. And you go downtown in 1981, 1982, and it was a ghost town. You could literally stand on Washington Street and look one way and look the other and not see a living soul, let alone a car. And this is at maybe 5:45, 6 o'clock in the afternoon, in the evening. Well, look at it now. And it is amazing what has been done downtown. We need to be able to keep that momentum going. And my concern would be that if the CIB, if the Capital Improvements Board failed, if the Pacers left, if the Colts left, that you would see the mall collapse and close, and you would see this pancaking effect of economic negativity that I think would be very detrimental, not just to Marion County, but certainly for many people in Johnson County who have jobs and rely on the economic development of Marion County to be successful. Now, having said that, and this goes to the issue of subsidies of sports teams, in any negotiation, there has to be a walk-away point. And I have asked many of my colleagues that have been negotiating on the CIB, okay, well, what's that walk-away point? If Jim Irsay said, I want $1 billion to keep the Colts here, or if Simon said, I want $500 million to keep the Pacers here, do we just pull out our checkbooks, your checkbooks, and give it to them? And they say, absolutely not. We would never consider doing that. Well, that's good to know. But what's that walk-away point? And unfortunately, I don't think there is a walk-away point in the minds of a lot of the people who are negotiating this. You wouldn't buy a car without knowing how much you realistically could afford to pay. You wouldn't buy a house beyond your means. We ought to apply that exact same standard that you or I would use in these determinations to government in terms of these negotiations that are currently going on with the Capital Improvements Board. And I feel really strongly about that. And so that's, I think, another issue that will be coming up. It will be part of the budget. And I do believe that will have a pretty good chance of going through the budget on the final version of it. So, yes.
I had, excuse me, I had about 3 questions.
Okay. And by the way, not interrupt, did I get all your questions?
You're fine.
Okay, I just wanted I want to double check it. Okay, so.
You said that you support voting centers in the community. I think that's what you're calling vote centers. Allow counties to pilot centralized voting locations at grocery stores, shopping centers, and such. In this day and age, with the issues of voting fraud, wouldn't that make it more difficult for citizens to actually poll watch and keep an eye on those issues?
Remember me saying I supported voting centers. Now, I voted for the bill, and I want to put a little asterisk on this, okay? I have historically not been a big fan of voting centers, and I'm still not, because I perceive the potential for fraud to absolutely be there, okay? As somebody who won his primary in 2004 by 38 votes, 6,062 to 6,024. By the way, thanks for the sign location, guys. Might have put me over the top, Omar. I appreciate it. That was a very close election. And any time when you win, or I suppose lose, by such a small margin, it really underscores the importance of every single vote counting. We can talk about that in the hypothetical. Well, everybody's vote should count. One person, one vote. But when you're in a race that is so close, down to the wire, it's something that really stays with you. And so when the voting centers first began being discussed, I had concerns. And the fraud is an aspect, and an important one.
This was just in May
right.
1st. Okay.
But there was another aspect to this. And the other aspect is, well, if we have this, how do you do a campaign? If you can vote, let's say you live down here and you work downtown, and I'm trying to convince you to vote for me. Where do I go on election day to try to convince you to vote for me? Do I hang out down here? Do I hang out downtown? Do I go up to the Fashion Mall at Keystone of the Crossing? Because there may be some people that work there. You basically take that type of standard political style campaign that's so important, the interaction of people with their elected representatives, and you take that out of the equation. And I think that's really important. I stand usually on, depends on if it's a primary or if it's a general election, but I normally go to the Murphy's Landing church